So this is 9 tips for a brand new ethicist by Guillaume Paré in the Canadian Journal of Bioethics. And I'm reading this because I've not heard of the Canadian Journal of Bioethics. I don't know anything about it. It looks like it's a French and English journal, language journal. So we've got, like you can see, this is the French side right here. This is all French in this stuff. But then the English version of this text appears below, which is really cool. And so I haven't, like all the other Canadian philosophy journals are excellent that I know of. I'm sure there's a crappy one somewhere, but like I'm not worried. Like I'm less worried about the quality. We've read stuff from journals from countries that are not known for their academic quality, and so like some of those have been less good. But like I'm actually somewhat interested to see what this is. So we've got, so here we go. And as always, my first time reading it. I'm not endorsing it. We're evaluating it to see if it's any good. And feel free, if you're in chat or whatever, leave a comment and ask me questions, and I will do my best to answer them. Here we go. 9 tips for a brand new ethicist. For nearly 2 decades now, I've been working in ethics. Good for you. Like, start off with the brag, as we were just saying, that this person has a job in ethics. But like, remember what I just said? You could get a job 2 decades ago. You can't get jobs now, but good for you, dude. Who would have thought that I could find employment with such a niche program of study? Yeah, not me, but maybe 20 years ago. This is indeed your first initiation as a future ethics advisor, facing the disapproval of those around you who question the aims and opportunities in scare quotes of your studies. Don't worry, as I often like to say, rigor always finds its way. That's interesting. They say, look, hard work pays off. You are not a millennial. You are not a millennial. No, you're not. Probably not younger Gen X, or definitely not, well, you can't be younger than me if you've been working in this for 20 years. This is my first piece of advice. Aim for rigor, nothing less. Know the classics of the field, refine your knowledge, and do not let your intellectual guard down. This is all philosophy. I'm sure it's the same everywhere else, but like at least academia, where basically if you don't know enough of the background stuff, they are going to skewer you. This is my problem. I don't know if everyone was here when I said at the beginning, but I'm going to give a talk on some of my recent work in like 2 weeks. And I've been just like trying to see what other people have said in the area. And there's people that could theoretically come to my talk that are very scary and know my stuff very, very well, or stuff that I'm working on that they know better than me. Like I don't know it. I'm just in one area. They could come. And so that's very scary that this person I actually have met and is very nice, but like they could come and just tear me to shreds. But yeah, so you have to be careful about this. But like, yeah, if you're going to do work in this sort of area, they don't want to hear it if you're just like, I don't know. No, they don't. You have to know your stuff, at least somewhat. All right, author says, I present here my advice for future ethics counselors. Okay, so this is counselors. I think our buddy Tommy is a registered philosophy counselor. So, yeah. Like, there's ethics counselors too. More broadly, this advice can be used for anyone aspiring to a career as a professional. Furthermore, these are influenced by my experience focusing on the research mission of the institution that is the university. Advice 2. Wait before calling yourself an ethicist. I didn't call myself a philosopher for a long time, and then I got yelled at by a world-class logician. He's like, no, you are a philosopher. I was like, okay. And then after that, I've tried to own the term. Because it's a weird thing to say. It's like, I'm a philosopher. It's like, you pretentious dickhead. Yes. And so, like, yeah. I'm still here, right? I just got an unstable warning, but whatever. Yeah, no drop frames, though. So, okay. At least I don't think any. That is the definition, yeah. I mean, pretentiousness is a professional job hazard of philosophers. So it's like, it does happen. Okay. Wait before calling yourself an ethicist. I waited before calling myself a philosopher. Just because you have a diploma and a few internships does not make you a bioethicist. You've just graduated. You cannot claim the title of ethicist immediately. It is a title that your peers will grant you if you prove yourself. Yeah, and that's how I have treated philosophy, that if you want to, it's something more that actually you get granted in retrospect. Because there's a lot of people who didn't think they were doing philosophy that later were called philosophers. And And sometimes you don't realize the questions you're asking have gotten philosophical until like later on. And so it's more of a historical term, actually. Of course, there's the professional term in the academy nowadays, but there are a lot of people in philosophy jobs that like are professor of philosophies that they suck. And I'm sure you've dealt with some shitty people, and there are also shitty people in philosophy that should not be in the business. And so it's like, yeah. Okay. My author's former colleague and friend, Simon Hobela, also a graduate in bioethics, makes this important distinction between conferred and proven skills. In the first case, the title presumes the person's competence based on their title and responsibilities assigned to them in the work. Yeah, so you can be a professor at a university without any qualifications. Professor just means that you are given the right by the university to profess something. You are a teacher at the university. So you can be a professor, and like same with everything else, but that's just institutional granting. However, being the designated person for ethical questions does not make someone an expert, even though they would obviously prefer all these positions to be filled by experts. In the other case, the person is recognized as an expert for their skills because they've genuinely demonstrated the title they can claim, and peers and other experts in their field acknowledge them as such. Make sure to play in the field of proven skills, welcome any title conferred with humility, and above all, never use your title as an argument of authority. Yeah, I mean, just because someone is a professional philosopher doesn't make them always right. It does usually mean that they have a PhD and they had to put a lot of work in, but not always. Sometimes people just get lucky. For the author's part, despite nearly 2 decades in the field, I am just starting to accept the title of ethicist, since I prefer that of ethics counselor, which I hasten to specify my preferred field, namely that of university research. This brings the author to advice 3. Choose your niche. Research ethics, organizational ethics, healthcare policy ethics, clinical ethics, even at worst, ethics of your shorts. I don't know what the fuck that is. What's 7? When the author started, I'm looking at this footnote here. When the author started studying ethics, this was the tone my father used to tell me in a very colloquial way, that ethics could always serve its master. This advice will be addressed subsequently. Yeah. So I actually told one of my cousins this. She had she's a smart girl, and she was like, the professor is asking us to do very stupid things. I was like, take this as a learning experience. When you get out of college, you're going to have to do very stupid things for your boss, and you're just going to have to smile and do them. Congratulations, you treat this class as your job, and you have to smile and do this. You are not learning anymore. You are learning how to conform to the expected expectations, and that includes philosophy too. Remember, there's a lot of bootlicker philosophers out there who will bullshit some philosophy to make someone happy. You will see this in politics all the time. And so it's like, well, they're getting paid to do philosophy, even though it's terrible. And this is one of the criticisms of Aristotle, actually, the historical Aristotle, not our buddy. He worked for tyrants. People did not like Aristotle. There's a reason that he was not granted the and he didn't inherit the Plato's Academy, because I don't think people liked Aristotle well enough, because even though he was the smartest dude, he was not well liked, because he was like, he was a rich kid and he liked money and he liked to be able to do what he wanted, but like he was willing to work with whoever to do that, and that's kind of shitty. But anyway. Every profession has its niche. Doctors specialize, as do lawyers. Is the same with us. Ivan, welcome in. Thanks for the raid. How is the rest of your stream? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, we're reading some bioethics. 9 tips for a brand new ethicist. I thought this would be fun. So yeah, welcome in. How you doing, Read and Rep? And as always, Ivan, if you need to raid and run, or you need to go like bathroom, food, whatever, please do. But yeah, how's your stream? What's going on? Dojo, what's up? Booyah, always a good night with me, Ivan and Meat. Hey, I appreciate you sticking around with the raid and everything. This is your field, sweet, yeah. So like we're just, I'm riffing off this person's like 9 tips for a brand new ethicist. This isn't a journal I've never seen. This is a Canadian Journal of Bioethics, I think. Yeah, Canadian Journal of Bioethics, and it's like a French and English language journal. I've never seen this one before, so I was like, let's give them a shot, see how it is. So it's kind of fun. Yeah. But yeah, if anyone here coming in from Ivan doesn't know me, hi, I'm Noah. You can call me Noah. You can call me Noger. You can call me Nogre. You can call me Nogreo. I don't give a fuck. There's a bunch of other variations. They're all cool. Just don't be a jerk. I'm a philosopher. I philosophize. I'm a philosophizer. I mostly work in metaphysics, theory of knowledge, philosophy of science, that sort of philosophical logic sort of thing. Hey, Globus, how you doing? Tips can definitely be helpful. Wish I had more tips going in. Yeah. You've heard of this dude, perhaps from another of my streams. Entirely possible. Like, this is like a little bit of an unusual name, so it's entirely possible that like it's happened. Yeah. So yeah, we've got the cult of rationality coming in. How you doing? We've got a bunch of people. You know what we did not do? Did not give Ivan a shout out. Should give Ivan a shout out. Yeah, the philosophizator, exactly. Yeah, so I try to publish philosophy. Sometimes I'm successful, most of the time I'm not. But we read and evaluate professionally published philosophy or professional works here on stream, and that's what we're in the middle of. Reading Map says a philosophical logicalizationalism, mysticism, Yeah. So yeah, exactly what Reading Map said. So yeah, as always, you're welcome to hang out, ask questions. My first time reading most of this stuff, we just see what it's about and if anything's good. So we're discussing what it is to be a ethicist. The Watcher of Games. Hello. Dojo, today Dojo learned that there's something called solar punk and lunar punk, and you have to read up on. Yeah, I've seen a little bit of solar punk. It's cool. Like, it's all sun-based technologies, and so like it's like everything's overly bleached out and bright, so it's just got its own aesthetic. It's cool. Frank's a voice chat in Ivan's Discord at some point. Oh, okay, you're asking Frank. Yeah. Okay, did Frank come in? Hi, Frank. If I didn't see you, but yeah. Aloha. Yeah. Okay, so here we're going. Yeah, aloha. There we go. Yeah, like and one of the other things, I don't check my chat list. So if you're lurking, I don't know you're here. Like, feel free to lurk as always. I don't call out lurkers unless we have to. The only time I called out Aris because I was just trying to shout him out. Interesting. Familiar with Steam, Diesel, Frostpunk. Yeah. So there's all these like different punks where like they focus on like one technology that somehow dominates. So everyone knows the steampunk with everything's like, like steam going through pipes and like you've got copper piping everywhere. It's cool. But like, yeah, like same with diesel punk. Everything's made from like a diesel engine. But like, yeah, like solar punk is light based, like sun based tech. It's fun. Scheme punk. That's just like philosophy. We're just punking on different schemes and whatever. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I agreed to give a talk, Ivan, to a philosophy, my philosophy workshop in like 2 weeks. It's like, why did I do that? Like, I'm not prepared. I am not prepared. But anyway, all right, let's get back to the paper. You're into punk drumming, yeah. I mean, and then there's of course just punk, which is like, punk music is cool. Okay. Yeah. So you're damn the man. All right. So choose your niche. As always, get into your punk of something. Philosophy punk. All right. Philosophy punk people. So research ethics, organizational ethics, healthcare policy ethics, clinical ethics, even at worst, ethics of your shorts. Every profession has its niche, including philosophy in general. So like, yeah, you could go be a punk philosopher. Doctors specialize, as do lawyers. It's the same with us. You can't escape it. I cannot even. What is that, Ivan? Urban, real rebel resist. Yeah, cool. Half-hearted damn the man. Just to cut out for a sec. I'm sitting here on a platform owned by Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and it's like you have to. There's not like severe censorship, but like I've been suspended for, thank you for the gigantified emote. I appreciate that. But yeah, rebel, revolt, resist. So, but it's like, yeah, it's like, damn the man. It's like, I'm sitting here reading academic philosophy to you. Now, in some sense, you're not going to get like someone just like shooting philosophy in public space. That's one of the reasons I did this, actually. Let me go back to just chatting. One of the reasons I did this, to begin with, is to show people that you can just read philosophy, and it might not be easy to understand, but like, yeah, damn the man, damn the academy. You do not need to be part of the academy to to read philosophy. So it's like, yeah, but then again, it is all academic philosophy. It is all like sort of, like, this is not like, I'm not going like raging against the academy here either. But like, yes, this is a little bit of sort of like, I'm out in the world doing this stuff as opposed to the other people who are just talking to themselves a lot of times. But yeah, but you can't escape a specialization. No, you can't. That's good advice. You cannot be in the service ethic. You cannot be the service ethicist, and you should not want to be. Ethics does not grant you a license to advise on all ethical issues that arise in your workplace, on many, but not all. ReadMap says it's kind of interesting that ethics, particularly the applied fields like bioethics, tend to operate on an almost abstract form of consensus, although many will claim not to. I'd love to see some sociology studies on more fields of academia. I need to look into that, how they operate in practice versus the ideal. An example I can think of is a large swath of bioethics organizations signing an agreement that masking during the peak of the pandemic is strongly advised. Yeah, subvert the dominant paradigm, exactly. Ethicists, know your limits, yeah. Behold, a man to damn. Yeah, exactly, Globus. And also, if anyone does not know Globus, I think it's gone on, we're past the cooldown for the last shout out. If you don't know Globus the Elder, go give Globus a follow. Globus does AI and tech news, and I saw he was listening to, I think, Trump's announcement of the, like, a whole lot of money going into some sort of AI fund very soon. So I was lurking. I didn't hear what he said, but he was like evaluating that stuff. So if you want someone who actually knows how to talk and understands the issues surrounding AI and all the hype nowadays, you go hang out with Globus. It's a impressive skill to understand what's going on and be able to parse it. So he's doing that in the tech area, kind of like what I do in philosophy. So it's very cool. Yeah. But yeah, it's part of it. It's like, it's like stay in your lane, bro. Like, as what's it called? And you can also do the Dirty Harry. Man's got to know his limitations. Okay. Ethicist does not grant you a license to advise on all ethical issues that arise in your workplace, on many but not all. For example, I work in ethics in the context of university research, integrity, conflicts of interest, research ethics involving human participants, regulations, academic freedom, data management, security, etc. Health policies and clinical issues are beyond the author's area of expertise, despite my studies in public health. When asked about these issues, I approach them with great caution, indicating the limits of my knowledge, skills, and experience in these areas. In short, choose. Yeah. And this is one of these general points now. At the turn of the 20th century, we had started to really expand our scientific knowledge and knowledge across many domains. And it used to be that someone could be on top, like say like the mid 1800s, maybe on top of a lot of science, probably not even then, like maybe at the start of the 1800s. But really, there's too much to know now. Viper says Elon was trying to undermine Stargate, saying that SoftBank only had 10 billion earmarked. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Elon arguing about that. Saying that Trump said like 100 billion, and then like Elon was saying, so I didn't know that's what Elon was arguing about, that there was only 10 billion earmarked. And so maybe Trump just said the wrong thing. I have no idea. But like, yeah, I don't trust the current administration to make any sense. So it's like, I'm going to have to just wait and see if anything that gets done the first few days here actually amounts to anything. Elon got used, if you ask me, he's salty. Maybe, Caldeo. Like, I think just this whole thing's a shit show at this point. Doge says, I'm going to try to draw people away from Ivan's rational cult into your Doge's cult of saying, I don't know when I don't know when you don't know. Man, that might work, but that also may play into their rationality. Viper says they don't actually have money. Musk wrote on his social media platform X. SoftBank has well under 10 billion secured. I have that on good authority. Globus says 1.2 trillion in the announcement. Elon is salty. Absolute shit show, says Caudio. Yeah, like, I mean, it's not unusual for Trump to have none of the planning and make all of the promises. I don't see why Musk is salty about this yet. But like, yeah, seriously. Not saying the money will show. Yeah, exactly, Globus. Like, who knows where the money is supposed to come from? I mean, Trump was like, we're going to build a wall over like a huge amount of space. They did build some walls. Didn't really do a whole lot, but like they did build some of them. So it's like, well, you're building a whole wall and you build like, 2% of it. Well, you're saying 1.2 trillion and then you only get 2% of it, and that's your 10 billion. It's like, is that actually doing anything? I don't know. Reading Map says, honestly, that's why I often find myself appreciating the more general types nowadays. Being able to see across different amounts of fields while still demonstrating accuracy and representing the findings of those fields is a very impressive skill, difficult task. In many cases, specialists can be sort of worse at this, as valuable as they are. Yeah. So again, what is your goal? Are you trying to do research into one thing and then you have to know all the stuff about that thing so you can like learn about it, or are you trying to like look at other stuff and see general trends? And that takes work too. Viper says they built a post. Yes, they did. Frank says Musk's whole game is to suck on government money. He would prefer the dollars go to visiting Mars and to AI because he is perfectly placed to suck on that teat the hardest. Yeah, so I guess he's worried there's not enough money to go around then, Frank. I mean, that makes some sense. Elon is salty because Altman was there and not Elon. Oh, so he's annoyed at Sam Altman. Okay. So yeah, we've got like the tech dick measuring now going on. Doge Drummer says, I have a theory that Trump discovered that he can move entire markets without actually passing law. No, he knew that. He's been doing that for a while. If you're in his inner circle, you can make money knowing ahead of what time will come out of his mouth. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that, Dojo Drummer. I think that's 100% his game. And like you can see what he's been doing with the crypto stuff. Like he's been doing this for a while. They've been like toying with it. And so they're just doing pump and dump schemes. But he's been doing that with just regular stock market for a long time, and it's not like new to him. They do this in other parts of the world, other governments, all that sort of stuff. So it's like, yeah, I'm sure if like you influence Trump or you know what he's going to do, even though that's hard to know, like you can be there ahead of time or be there early. Yeah. Read Map says, yeah, Elon was kind of a dick to Altman early before he had significant funding, and it's kind of come back to bite him in the ass, or more so a megalodon shark swallowing him. Yeah. Volfefe, an index of how much volatility in bonds can be attributed to Trump. That's funny. Yeah, so this is the state of the world. No one has anything. It's what was it? The old joke was there's like Kremlinology, what the CIA used to try to predict what the Kremlin's going to do. Now we have like Trumpology, where people are trying to guess at what Trump's doing, and no one knows, because I don't think Trump knows either. Or that's not fair. Trump is not a dumb guy. I just don't think he's like, the like 5 brain people tried to make him out to be. But like he does what he does, and he does like tolerably well. Like I wouldn't want to be doing that because I think it's shitty. But it's like, yeah, like you have to see what it's up to. Dogan says if you look at it from the Globus perspective, it's comforting. They're all bad actors and dishonest. Is that Globus or global? Do you actually mean Globus the Elder perspective? Like I don't want to put words in Globus' mouth, but like, yeah. I mean, they're all bad actors and they're fighting it out. Like, that's just a bad state for the U.S. government, though. Anyway. Yeah, so indicate the limits of your knowledge, skills, and experience in these areas, and you have to choose what you learn. And that's the problem. We have people who are in power that have no idea what the limits of their knowledge is. Yeah. You don't expect these people to have good intentions. Yeah, I don't expect any of our politicians at the moment to have good intentions. It just doesn't seem like that's what's going on. Okay. The volume of knowledge to master each sub-branch of ethics makes the encyclopedic exercise impractical for those not gifted in that way. I mean, yeah, this is the exact problem. Everyone has to be the fucking smartest person. No, Trump has to be the smartest guy in the room, and he's not. And he thinks he's like being clever. It's just like, nah, no, you're not. Yeah. No, it's okay if you distract me. It's fine. Again, the author says, ideally practice could lead you to acquire extensive knowledge, a certain erudition, but for now remain humble in the face of the task's magnitude. The level of knowledge required to appreciate the broad spectrum of issues in a field is too vast to claim to be the best advisor when an ethical issue arises. It is essential to continually question your level of knowledge, skills, and experience, and how relevant they are to the work you do. In short, reflexivity here is crucial. This brings the author to advice number 4. At best, advise. At worst, abstain. Yeah. You see, I assume that you knew what an ethicist could do, but it's not obvious. Personally, I've always adhered to the description provided by Daniel Weinstock in his book, Professional yeah, see, this is French. I can't read French. It's esthetician, probably. One, namely that the ethicist avoids presenting themselves as an expert capable of making definitive judgments on issues about which reasonable people may disagree. And that they have done their job when they have clearly seen the values in conflict or tension. According to Weinstock, the ethicist assumes a posture of companion rather than sanctioner. You see, this is the problem with our current government. No one is like trying to figure it out. They're probably trying to sanction stuff. They're saying, this is what we're going to do. And that's like, yeah, it's bad. We are servants of democracy insofar as we contribute to knowledge development, participate in governance bodies, and engage in the media game. Yeah, this part here. Engage in the media game. We are not judges. In this regard, I invite you not to comment on public cases of rule violations or allegations against a third party if you have not been part of the process and cannot comment with full knowledge. Passing external judgment on a situation without access to all the facts, without being able to vouch for the principles of natural justice or procedural fairness, is a perilous exercise, often more about entertainment than ethics. And this is exactly where we are. We're more about entertainment than ethics nowadays. Yeah, where's Lumpley when you need him? To laugh territorially? Yes, exactly. I'd like to learn French because my brother moved to Belgium and like his kids are learning French. So, yeah. Question, what am I using to translate this article? So this is published both in French and English. So this is their translation, reading map. So like if I scroll up, like here's the French. Like here's conseil... un, deux, trois, yeah, so this for something French. This is one of the reasons I chose this article to read, was because I was like, I want to see, like, this is kind of cool. Like, this is, it's going to have a different flavor when it's written for the French audience. One of the interesting things I did not too long ago when I was talking to some other philosophers online is, this is the Ask a Philosopher bunch. So that guy does computer ethics and like AI ethics. And he found out that ChatGPT and the other LLMs answer differently if you ask questions in different languages. So if you ask what's your favorite cheese or what are the best kinds of cheese in English, you get a certain list of cheeses. If you ask it in French, you get a different list. It is drawing on like different resources, and so the answers are not consistent across languages. And so that's kind of it's really interesting stuff. And so then he had his class trying to figure out what sort of different things you could ask it that might get you different answers. Yeah. Doger says knowledge is actually pretty low on the scale of proficiency. I've got 14 years of drumming and I'm practicing single stroke rolls and getting more proficient at finger techniques. There is the knowing that, like I know that it's cold outside, and knowing how. I don't know how the weather works or how the predictions work. Like it's completely different skill to know how versus know that. Actually, our buddy Prof works on problems of this sort. But like, yeah, the knowledge issue is very separate from like the know-how issue. Yeah. So it's, like that's a major issue actually in contemporary philosophy. Trying to understand exactly how to parse know-how versus know that. Yeah. Okay. But like, this is part of the issue also in ethics is, you might know a lot of stuff, but are you actually able to apply it? And that's exactly what this section is about. It's the application of the knowledge, not the, did you learn all the things you were supposed to in school? Okay. Continuing. We shed light on the debate, ensure that processes are followed, advise, and offer our critical perspective. In fact, our role is never to tell people what to do, but to advise them so that they make informed decisions themselves and responsibility for them. And let me just give our buddy Aris a shout out. You'll notice if you go into his stream and you ask him questions, this is what he's doing. He is there with you considering the problem. He's not usually telling you what to do. He might say, given a certain ethical system, this is what this system how it might be regarded, but he's usually, no matter how crazy a fucking question he like ethical or like whatever social you ask him, he's there considering it with you. This is what he's doing because he wants to know himself. Like he wants to like consider the issues because he's interested in this stuff. Like me, I don't give a fuck. You have to ask me about very weird shit before I start considering stuff. But like I'm a weird person. Like I only care about metaphysics and a few other fucking stupid things. But like when you ask Aris one of these questions, he's like, okay, let's consider what it would be like to, God for like if you have ever been in Aris's chat, you know the sorts of questions that he'll consider. So it's like, yeah, but like how do you take responsibility for considering like actions like that? You make informed decisions. But Kendrick versus Drake, the real question, there's no question there. It's like Kendrick all the way. Drake's a loser. Dojo says, I provide retirement information, knowledge of some to the foot guns. I have to say this is not advice, but people want some advice to be told what to do. Yes, that is part of it, Dojo. It's very hard. People really want to be like told from like the daddy in the sky how they're supposed to live, and they don't want to take responsibility for themselves. They don't want to like have to own up to their fucking problems. People are cowards. It's just how it comes down to it. People are cowards, full stop. And try not to be a coward. Not so easy sometimes. Okay, author says, our approach is the good life, personal and professional life, common good, survival of species, etc. The common good and how people's actions, discourse, and choices align with this objective. In short, at best advise, at worst abstain. This brings the author to advice 5, establish your professional stance. Doger says, if it was you, what you would do, yeah, I'm not you. And like that makes a big difference. Like, I don't have the experiences you have. There's a lot of people in chat that are really smart, and you have done stuff, you've studied stuff, you've been places, you've done things that I have not done. I have sat very quietly worrying about some very arcane topics, and that gives me perspective that other people don't have, but I don't have your perspective. I didn't spend the time doing the things you did, and you didn't spend the time doing the things I did, and so you look at things different from me, and that's good. And so it's like, yeah. So I can't answer for a lot of people. And you'll see when people come in chat, like I will punt to a lot of other people. Say you have ethical questions, other stuff, you go talk to Aris. You have questions about like AI, you go talk to Globus. You want to talk about science, you go talk to Ivan. You want to talk history, you go talk to Shane. But like if you want to talk, you have like a weird question about like some weird shit going on, like philosophical weirdness, yeah, I can do that. And people come to me and ask me like that sort of thing. I reviewed a paper for a conference for Aris a while back now, and I was like, oh, you're coming to me, like how bad was it that you had to come to me? He's like, no, it wasn't that bad, it's just I know you like this weird shit, so I sent you all the weird papers. I was like, yeah, I know about this stuff. If you want to talk bullshit, exactly, I know more about fucking bad argumentation than most. So like, yeah, exactly. Vipers has been here long enough. Vipers knows. All right, establish your professional stance. Professional stance defines the boundaries of your role as an ethics counselor. I won't beat around the bush. Being an ethics counselor is not easy. Many will perceive you as the spoil sport, the troublemaker, or even the police. I once had a professor who, in all seriousness, referred to me as a Nazi in front of her team because I was hindering her effort to save the world. Yeah, you can see these people who are like megalomaniac narcissists treat anyone who disagrees with them as like ruining their lives. And you see that a lot now. Yeah, like Trump criticizing that religious person who asked for mercy. I'm sorry, that's just like hilariously stupid. Okay, beyond insults and proverbial setbacks, some will exert real political pressure on you. When I was a dissenter on a committee early in author's career, I was kindly introduced to the head of the institution to make it clear for whom I was working. Voluntarily, I should add. Yeah, and this happens a lot in academia. You have to be reminded that you don't always get to make choices. Yeah, he's a fake Christian. Yeah, Trump is not much of anything. And definitely not very religious. Okay, in the context of a public consultation, I was summoned by the committee because its members, ethicists I should mention, were dissatisfied with the author's comments. A few months later, a member of this committee made 2 access to information requests targeting me regarding this consultation and any exchanges I may have had with other people. I cannot help but perceive these requests as a form of undue pressure on me. In short, my professional stance is based on courage, but what does courage mean in this context? And this is what I was just saying, don't be a coward. It's going to be hard though. So when I was in grad school, I criticized one of the professors for something, and one of the other grad students says he's going to come after you. And that guy did. He went through my, cause I was, grading some students. He went through and found some statistical anomalies with my grading. And he was like, were you not grading correctly? And I had to sit there and explain to him why I did the grades look the way they did. And I had a very good reason. And he was like, oh, okay. But that guy came after me. He did not like being criticized. Yeah. So it's like, and the fact that one of the other grad students warned me that it was going to happen. He said, that guy, he's petty. He'll come after you. I was like, okay. It's like, I don't fuck around. So it's like, but then again, they asked me not to come back to that grad school. So who knows? Anyway, author says, in 2018, I gave a presentation at the Conference on Ethics Research and Scientific Integrity, where I precisely addressed this question. In brief, my definition of courage is partly based on John F. Kennedy's conclusion in his book, Profiles in Courage. Quote, a man does what he must in spite of personal consequences, in spite of obstacles and dangers and pressures, and that is the basis of all human morality. Yeah. Thus, courage for the author involves a form of practical wisdom, resistance to pressures, and authenticity despite the consequences for oneself. Courage is a form of informed selflessness focused on the common good, sometimes against our personal interests. This is the professional stance I have chosen. In short, adopt a professional stance and be able to argue for it. And above all, do not give up even if this is difficult. Read and Rap says, that has always made zero sense to you. The entire idea of academia is that your work should be subject to heavy scrutiny. Lol. Yeah, no. You have to remember, that is the ideal of academia. The world is very far from in an ideal state. Academics are petty because, again, like the old joke is, the fights are so vicious because the stakes are so small. But like, this is all these people have, is their dumb job and their status in that department. And they don't like getting called out on their stupid little pettiness. And so they are human. They are going to act like petty humans. And the ideal of the academics trying to be better is no, because people are also fighting over scraps. And so they don't want to get embarrassed. Yeah, Raiden's up. So you should say ideal. The commodification of academia under late-stage capitalism enables the opposite. Yeah. So things are in bad state, and everyone knows it. So yeah, at this point. Okay, author says, and this brings me to advice 6. Be honest, incorruptible, exemplary, but not rigid, dogmatic, or puritanical. High potential, what's up? The idea of academia is outshadowed by its execution these days. Yeah. So, I mean, people who are susceptible to being to idealistic concepts and the way the world is, they're still going to think, oh yeah, you go here and things are great, but it's not the case. We're living in interesting and messy times, and so there's a lot of idealists out there, and you tend to be idealistic about things you know less about. You just have some ideas about what it is. So people who are low information, low knowledge, they're going to be idealistic about stuff in different ways. But it's a problem. You should no, don't make anyone dox themselves. Read and Rap. You don't have to say anything about that. Yeah, I mean, even if you're joking, Read and Rap. It's worth saying, as always, you're on a public platform. Do not be doxing yourself without very good reason. Oh, you talk about a lot? Okay, fine. But I mean, still, I'm saying this as a general policy. Be careful what information you reveal out there. I mean, I've heard many stories from basically the females online and otherwise about shitty things that happen to them because people or guys because lots of people are crazy. And so not just guys, women too, everyone across the spectrum, there's crazy people out there. So it's there's Men, women, everyone else. It's like, yeah. You go by Tinker, sorry? Yeah, yeah. But like, exactly. It's worth repeating. I mean, I have my real name on this, but like that took a bit of like, I had to like, am I going to do it with my real name and stuff like that? So I have much less to hide than most. I'm pretty clean as far as these things go. So, okay. So, author says, in your role, you must maintain impeccable integrity. Consequently, you will face you need the moral high ground if you're going to be an ethical counselor. Yeah, Reading Rep says, I feel you, but Tinker is probably the exception to the rule. Man streams 24 hours a day, literally. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. But still, it's like I said, it's not, what I was saying was general advice. You have to know what you're doing at least a little bit. And I mean, I know people who have their real name out there, and so people call like this one streamer by his real name quite often, but he mentions every so often he doesn't really like it. It's like he wants to go by his like screen name, and the fact that people can like find out his like IRL like legal name, like that's okay, but like, you know, it's just been out there so long he kind of like tolerates it. But it's like that's not what he wants either. So it's like, yeah, please no docs. Okay. Yeah. Consequently, you will face various forces that seek to align you with their cause willingly or not, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah, you're going to get co-opted, or people are going to try to. My definition of integrity is partly based on the work led by Michel Bergeron, my mentor. After several modifications, I've come to this definition of professional integrity, developed while preparing the content for some course. Ethics and Integrity in the Professional Environment at the University of Montreal, which I've presented on several occasions, including during the conference at the 14th conference of CACPUC. Quote, a reflective approach, and I apologize for my lack of French and my lack of anything except for English, but like, yeah. A reflective approach where one's own values are engaged in dialogue with those of others, taking into account contingencies of the context and present power systems, with the aims of taking actions, making statements and decisions coherently, even at the risk of compromising one's own interests, but always aiming for the common good. What's up, Overkill? It's going well. We're reading philosophy, and we're trying to discuss. This paper's okay. It's like, it's nothing crazy, but like this person's giving, you know, the best advice that they can, really. And we're criticizing here and there for, you know, a little bit of idealism, but, you know, it's advice. It's going to be a little bit, you know, top down, like highfalutin. Author continues, this approach should maintain the trust that others invest in our role, obligations, responsibilities, organization, or institution, particularly by being aware of the impact and consequences of our actions, discourse, and decisions on others. In short, as an ethics counselor, you have very little room for error. Yeah, and this is most philosophy. You have very little room for error in most philosophy. Since things are theoretical, there's no leeway there. Either you got the theory right or you didn't. It's not like you got close enough like in engineering. It's like you got to enough significant digits. Like, no, there is no significant digits. It's either right or wrong quite often. This immediately makes you think of realism and political science. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the issue. In like political science, the world's messy, but like the theory, like you can have a idealistic theory and you just say things, but like in practice, how does that actually work? And so this is part of the issue. And this is why this person's an ethicist. They have to be right, but like they know that when stuff goes out into the real world, it gets messy. Okay. In short, as an ethics counselor, you have very little room for error. Now that you embrace the profession, integrity becomes your domain, and you must be able to be an example in this regard within your profession. However, do not fall into rigidity, dogmatism, or puritanism. We are not the new priests. New priests. We are here to advise and support people, not to sermonize or correct deviants. Being honest also means listening and seeking to understand others. This brings the author to advice 7, serve the institutions, not individuals. Yeah, so this guy is now HR. He's serving the institution, not the individual. In the author's daily readings, I came across a blog post by Farnham Street discussing the inner sense of captaincy developed by poet David White. That is, quote, the idea of having an inner sense of captaincy means understanding the overarching goals of your work and being willing to make decisions that support them, even if something isn't strictly your job, or you might not get rewarded for it, or sometimes even if you don't have permission. This notion also reminds me of historian Timothy D. Snyder's second piece of advice in his flagship work on tyranny, 20 lessons from the 20th century. And before we get to that, Overkill says, in practice, there must be three variables: a dependent variable, an independent variable, and a control variable. You're a political science man, by the way. Yeah, so if you're going to study it in terms of like a, science, like you're trying to make variables into equations and measure stuff, absolutely. But like in science, there's always margins of error, no matter where you are. There's different reasons for this, of course. And political science is more of a social science. You're not like being like, okay, the particle's moving exactly from here to there. And even then there's like error bars on that, entropy and whatnot. But like, yeah, so it's like you can science the shit out of stuff, but like that's only working in the ranges that it can. Stuff only works in so much space. So you have to be like super, at least cognizant of the limitations of your methods. Yeah. So, and of course, this is to say that political scientists do good work. It's just there are limits on all things like this. Okay. So this is a quote from On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century. It is institutions that help us preserve decency. They need our help as well. Do not speak of our institutions unless you make them yours by acting on their behalf. Institutions do not protect themselves. They fall one after the other unless each is defended from the beginning. So choose an institution you care about, a court, a newspaper, a law, a labor union, and take its side. End quote. Now, this is true, and you'll see that nowadays a lot of institutions are getting crapped on. Well, what ranges are we looking at in this essay? Well, this is philosophy. And so philosophy has almost no margin for error, like literally none, because it's all the realm of theory. Now, this particular paper is called 9 Tips for a Brand New Ethicist. So this is some practical advice about being an ethicist. And they said straight up, like I think maybe a minute or two before you start chatting, that like you don't have a margin for error. You have to be like real, you have to have like absolute integrity when it comes to the work. Otherwise you lose your moral standing. And then how do you advise anyone on ethics if you have no moral standing? So you are in the realm of philosophy. It is either right or it is wrong. So the margin of error is like the limit at this point. But yeah, so as Read and Rap says, proper argumentation structure is more paramount than empirical data. That is our empirics. What is the argument structure here? Like, we take different things as empirical data. It's not that there is no empirical stuff in philosophy. It's that we take what other people think of as theory as our raw data. Like, this is our input. How did this does this argument work for their conclusions? And like then you can match up, like, does this actually work? And then so the argumentation is our data. Yeah. And yes, and as you say in your next one, empirical data can still be important. Like you still have to connect the stuff up in philosophy to reality at some point. Yes, exactly. We're like, this is philosophy, we're idealists in the sense that our arguments have to work. Like, if we don't have arguments that work in philosophy, then we have nothing. Yeah. Okay, so in short, prioritize the institution and take action to prevent the metaphorical ship from taking on water. Yeah. Well, in philosophy, you have to understand, even when you're doing like analytic philosophy, for any analytic philosophers out there, you are still in the history of analytic philosophy. So a lot of times the continentals are the ones who are worried about history, context, like your social situation. But even in analytic philosophy, you are in a history of analytic philosophy. So if you're using a certain logic in a certain way, there's a history there. And so like you still have to realize that you are in the institution of analytic philosophy, and that's still like, you're still like participating at that point. You don't get to like be outside by doing like logic or like scientific philosophy. You're still in that sort of school of thought, and that is a history too. Yeah. Might be. I don't know, Dojo. I'm generally friendly to science. I'm just a very weird person because I care less about it than most other people. I care more about my arguments and my metaphysics. And okay. For the author's part, I've chosen the university with the capital U. We are in a context where knowledge, truth, and expert discourse are under attack in the public sphere, as are our democracies. Think of the pressures that some universities south of our border face. Yeah, this was a Canadian person, and the efforts to defend academic freedom that have gained momentum in recent years. It seems important to me to protect this institution whose missions, teaching, research, and service to the community contribute to the common good. Academic freedom and university autonomy are the guiding lights in my practice. In a university setting where leaders change with the rhythm of mandate renewals, this advice has proven valuable in the author's practice. Moreover, the above references have nothing to do with bioethics per se. So Overkill says, from what I have read, the two best sources of philosophical wisdom and truth are the Bible and poetry. Sure. Dr. Sam Johnson, I refute it thus, and kicks a stone. Yeah. I mean, you find whatever works for you. I'm not a gatekeeper when it comes to philosophy. I always say read whatever you are interested in. There's too much philosophy and just stuff out there to read crappy philosophy or even good philosophy if it doesn't work for you. So you always read what I always say, read what interests you and what works for you. Okay, advice 8. Everything can be learned and everything serves. In truth, your degree does not mark the end of your quest for knowledge, it marks the beginning. From now on, I strongly recommend that you enhance your knowledge and skills without ever setting specific goals. Read a lot, stay informed, read about subjects you do not know, do not like, or find seemingly foreign and useless. This wealth of knowledge will grant you the ability to navigate complexity, uncertainty, and unpredictability in life. Thank you for the follow, Overkill. Potter, the father of bioethics, said that wisdom is knowing how to use knowledge. Science is knowledge, but it is not wisdom. Wisdom is the knowledge of how to use science and how to balance it with other knowledge. Okay, so Ivan will like this guy. Because Ivan always says the purpose of good philosophy is to defend it against bad science. Yeah, everything can be learned. No, well, everything that can be learned, but that's less helpful. Yeah. In other words, to strive for wisdom, one must first have knowledge. Personally, I discipline myself to read, annotate, record information, organize their notes, etc. When a new issue arises without being an expert or having in-depth knowledge, my reflection is initiated and I can stay on course to continue the nautical metaphor. I mean, this is fair. I mean, I am basically the poster child for reading everything. This is philosophy roulette, after all. I read random shit, stuff suggested by chat, just stuff randomly picked out of Phil Papers or the internet. So I am promiscuous in my philosophy. I've always been a little bit reading other stuff, but I actually took classes and things I thought I wouldn't like when I was an undergrad just to see what the other side, like the other people I didn't understand, had to say. And it's helped over the years. It took me a very fucking long time to understand anything of Hegel. Like, long fucking time. But eventually, and now I understand why some of the Hegelians are the way they are. That one paper that was studying evolutionary bio, yeah. So we've read shitty fucking philosophy here. We've also read some really good philosophy here. It's like, that's why it's roulette. You can land on a bad spot. Overkill says that quote about reading a lot and varied is the entire idea behind literature, but the entire behind literature is also to change the future, not to repeat the past. Well, yeah, you have to know stuff. It was Hume that said, look, there's two ways of basically making decisions. You have to be logical in what you think, and also you have to go look at what people have done in the past. And so between those two things, you have to make the best decision you can. And so it's you can read a lot, you can check literature, have lots of different perspectives, and then once you understand the consequences of what the different choices might be, then you're in a better position to understand why certain things are actually better points of view, or at least you think you're putting yourself and your community in the best possible position. Corwin says, I see a pro shooter sink in a three-pointer. Okay, basketball, yeah. I ain't ever gonna learn myself that knowledge. You can practice basketball, though. You might not good at three-pointers, but, maybe you could hit, layups better, or you could make, from the foul line or whatever it is. Yeah, you may not be that good, but, you can learn something of basketball. It's not that, a craziest subject. Dojo says, the non-tautological version of everything can be learned by one, can be learned by another with similar capabilities, is somewhat suspect. What they're saying here is that what I think they mean in this case is that they're like, people can learn stuff. Everything can be learned by someone, and everything that like anything you learn at all can serve. So like, you can learn about all sorts of stuff, and then it can all be put to use. That's not going to mean you can learn all the things, of course. They already said that. But like, you have the opportunity to learn lots of different stuff. And so it's like, you're not going to learn everything, but you can like dip your toe in, and you can go find people that do understand. So like, what they're saying here is a little bit, yeah, you guys are right. What they said here is not like maybe the best way of saying it, but basically you can learn about a little bit about a lot of stuff, and then at least not be in a completely ignorant position if one of these situations comes up. Anything that can be learned in the time scale of human life, yeah, Corwin. Or yeah, like, you can go not be an idiot in all areas if you are being serious about like reading stuff and looking it up. Like, then you may not learn it all, but you may also not be an idiot. Like, that's it. Overkill says the theory of evolution is a prime example of bad philosophy, because at the end of the day, it's just theory, not fact. I disagree with that. I mean, what do you mean theory? Like, that's just theory of evolution. That's just what we mean by science usually. Green Rap says, I mean, you can though. The guys get thousands of shots every day. Yeah, you can learn. Doge says, I have only problem with the heading, not the rest is fine. Yeah, I think the heading was just badly stated. Yeah. Yeah, so when a new issue arises without being an expert or having in-depth knowledge, my reflection is initiated and I can stay on course. So you see, they know they're without being an expert or having in-depth knowledge, but like, they understand what to do, that like their reflection is initiated and they don't fuck it up. And like, that's the idea. Overkill's understanding is better than learning. Oftentimes, the people who know how to make straight A's all the time, or people who know how to split out answers on tests, are the people who make A's and B's that understand. Yeah, that's entirely the case. The kid who is the best philosopher, like when I was an undergrad, he was like the top student. He was really good at parroting stuff. Like, he parroted the teachers and the textbooks and the books and the papers really well. He was not a very good philosopher. I remember talking to him about some stuff one time, and basically he plagiarized I told him what to say, and he did not reference me. He understood nothing of what was important, and it was kind of annoying, but I wasn't going to call him out on it. But like, yeah, that's exactly right. Like Overkill's advanced composition professor said, write about what you love, not what you know. Yeah, because you want to enjoy this. I mean, I understand that. Dojo says, pursue knowledge not for knowledge's sake, but to apply that knowledge and diversify what you learn. Yeah. Like, if you are just doing it for the sake of itself, then yeah, you should go off in the corner and be an academic and like just be really good at that. But like, if you're trying to get anything else done in your life, then you should have other priorities. So it's like, yes. Okay. Author encourages us to start our quest by reading the booklet by Lene Rachel Anderson entitled Keep Growing. The German concept of Bildung describes the quest dimension, providing autonomy and freedom to act justly in the face of the complexity of the world around us. In addition to being somewhat self-taught in your studies, I invite you to take additional courses in training. It is crucial to update our knowledge and develop new skills. Finally, find a mentor who can guide you, support you, listen to you when the storm makes you fear the reef, and above all, confront you with respect and collegiality based on mutual trust. Ethics is not done alone. Surround yourself with people who can keep you from straying off course due to life's wanderings and pressures that tempt us to deviate from our trajectory. These individuals should help you see the blind spots in your thinking so that you can better serve society, as I wrote above. Corwin says, the philosophical value of science is the violent universe we live in. We must advance to survive, and so on some level, the philosophical and scientific go hand in hand, the basic human experience. Well, I completely agree with, like, the science is one way of looking at the world, the philosophical another. And so, yeah, we have to use both at different times to, like, be able to survive. There's so many, like, we have to live together. Science is not going to, like, immediately tell us how to live together in a society. You need, like, ethicists. You need, like, politicians. You need literature to explain other people's experiences so that you might understand. Like, things like that. So it's like you need these other skills besides just, living in the world, which, as you say, can be very dangerous. Overkill says the philosophy of physical science is enthalpy versus entropy. I don't know what enthalpy means, but yeah. But like there's a lot of things. You learn that when taking college chemistry. Cool. Globus did see the note. What is the note? Is that like I don't know what the note is, but all right. Read map. Okay, that's discussing with Overkill. Okay. Finally, the author gets to advice 9. Clear language is the oasis of ethics. And I think our buddy Aris, who is a professor of ethics, would agree with this. He hates people who are bad writers in philosophy. Okay. The translation was done largely based on suggestions from ChatGPT and Google Translate. That's hilarious. Yeah. Clear language is the oasis of ethics. This guy gets it. God, for some reason, not so much. That's true. Yeah. Okay, regardless of the advice given in your audience, adapt to the latter and respect the format. Be accessible in your language and avoid being cryptic. Let's not hide it. Our field is dry. Yeah. Philosophy is a boring, dry, shitty field for writers. It is imperative to make it interesting and accessible to truly serve society. I invite you to familiarize yourself with the literature on plain language, which offers several tips for better communication. All right, yeah, so Corwin says, I expect with the advent of AI and the growing tech conglomeration, philosophy will be more important than ever. I hope so, Corwin. Like, I hope people are interested in this stuff because, like, bringing new ideas to the fore and, like, radically new ideas is not something the LLMs are going to be able to do. They can synthesize the philosophy, the stuff that's out there increasingly better and better, but like, you know, I've had people in chat put my work through the LLM, caching stuff, and I get like philosophy gets my stuff got the lowest possible ranking for being written by an LLM that they had ever seen. So it's like you want to be saying something new, something fresh, and the LLMs are just rehashing a lot of the old stuff. So it's like, yeah. What's up, Cast Nick? Okay. Yeah, we're still arguing the evolution point. Yeah. The dictionary should not be disregarded. No. Reading Map says, Mark Cuban thinks so. He's made the proclamation that getting a PhD in philosophy will make more than a computer science degree. Let's hope he's right. The history on philosophy degrees is actually, some philosophers make huge amounts of money, but then a lot of them make below average. So the average is actually not bad for philosophers overall. But yeah, computer science usually makes more money, but it may change in the future. Yeah. KS just picked up Yanis Varoufakis' book, Techno-Feudalism, What Killed Capitalism. Yeah, we're techno-feudal now. That's like exactly. It's techno-fascist, techno-feudal. That's where we're going. Oh, wait. Anyway, let's just get the last little bit done. In conclusion, I especially advise you to ensure that bioethics is flourishing and helpful to those who listen to our discourse. Many who claim to be part of our field have deviated from Potter's vision, which was more progressive than bioethics often offers today. Too often, a shaky approach studying social acceptability and complacency, and at worst, a vengeful administrative and legal mess. Lastly, never forget that establishing your credibility and professional reputation will take time, but losing these takes a fraction of a second. That being said, have fun! Ethics offers a plethora of tools to comprehend the world, understand it, and actively engage in it. Hooray! Okay, that's done then. Yeah, you're not going to argue about it, you just don't believe it? Okay. Well, that's fine. Like, just let it go then. Here is what we do, though, now. We are going to rate this paper here. What we do is we use the emotes that I have, and this was a nice advice paper. Yeah, this is kind of a meta thing, talking about the, this happens every so often. We read a paper more about philosophy as a job or in academia than giving out like specific, like talking about philosophy. But like, how was it even in that case? We criticized some things here. Like, was this a little too idealistic or whatever? Let me know. If you thought this had funny ideas, use a brain dance. And spelling and capitalization do matter here. Nog Stream for existential artistic drama. I mean, they weren't talking about too much existential stuff, but they did mention it. They say you have to make choices for yourself. You have to do stuff. So up to you how you rate this. Nog Aura or Ouroboros for deep ancient ideas. Nog Knife for slicing and dicing arguments. Nog Navel for navel gazing only for academics. Nog Turds, all style, no substance, don't poop underneath. And Nog Grapes for big claims that shrivel up. Like if you think this didn't deliver on any good advice, then it would be a Grapes. Also, you can use the global Twitch emotes, vote yay, vote nay, and my vote meh. The stuff on the green at the top will make the, I do calculate a score, will make the overall score go up. The stuff in the red at the bottom will make the score go down, and the vote meh actually makes it all go to the middle. Reading Rap said, yay, okay. Corbin says, hold the balloon, make a wish, let it go, yeah. Hey, what's up, Aris? Yeah, like, this is a fun little paper. If you weren't, I don't know if you were here, Aris, but, like, talking about the job of being an ethicist. It wasn't terrible. Like, yeah, it seems like it was written in the tone of an enthusiastic child. Now that I know it was translated using ChatGPT, I think that's better. Yeah, so that's part of it. Like, this is translated from the French. I thought they did an admirable job. Like, so they translated from ChatGPT and Google Translate, but like someone read this. Nothing was fucked up, and like I don't think anything made like it was like badly done. Chocolate gave it a mint. Thank you. Aracel, did you hear us glazing you like a Krispy Kreme donut? Yes, yeah. Overkill said knife. They like the argumentation here. Dojo gave it a Ouroboros. Just got here, had to check this one out. Yeah, this is I read this because I've not seen this Journal of Bioethics. Is the Canadian Journal of Bioethics. It publishes its work, it looks like, in both French and English, and it looks like they're using ChatGPT to do that. But like, I've read other Canadian journals before, and they've usually been good quality. This seems to be competently done. Like, it was okay. So yeah. So no, we were saying there was a point up here. I know you can't see it, but I'm just gonna go look for it again. Okay, we shed light on the debate, ensure that processes are followed, advise, and offer our critical perspective. In fact, our role is never to tell people what to do, but to advise that they make informed decisions themselves and take responsibility for them. And I brought you up, Aris, at that point. I said, if you go into Aris's chat, he's not like advising us like what he thinks you ought to do. He gives you information about the different theories and how different people might view it, but then like he's there asking what would you do if like you were in that situation and how to take responsibility for your actions. So it's like this person had a few good lines here. Overkill, you're a purist, you never use AI in writing. I mean, good on you. Like Timothy Chalamet in a femboy costume, indeed, yes. Perspectives and categories, yep. Douglas says Paré was referenced in Ethics of Data article, and he referenced when he referenced the First Nations. He then refers to the First Nation principles of OCAP, ownership, control, access, and possession. Those principles assert that First Nations have control of the data collection process and that they own and control how this information can be used. Yeah. If Aris started a cult, yeah, it'd be a good cult to join. That'd be fun. You're right, Vipers. Okay, what am I going to say about this? Yeah, like this is... It's kind of light. It's just sort of like work advice. It's giving you sort of like an overview of how not to suck as a philosopher, but it's not telling you anything like crazy. I'm not getting like a ton of good information out of this. Like this is one of those, you hang out in Aris's chat, you're going to get most of this anyway. You let him brand your fupa? That's nice. That's so nice of you. Yeah, so be honest, incorruptible, exemplary, but not rigid, dogmatic, or puritanical. You know what you're getting for that, fucker? You're getting a vote meh. I mean, there's no real fucking, like, okay. It's like, yeah, don't be a shitty person. You're also going to get a nog knife out of this. Like, they gave a nice paper that sort of, like, it's kind of meh, but it's also, they did it well. They presented how to be an ethicist, and they said it very clearly. They broke it down nicely. It's not bad, and it gives good general advice. Like, I'm not giving it a nog navel. Like, I'm not giving this only for academics. It's not bad advice. So yeah. Oh, and for anyone new here, if you double up on the emotes, it actually sort of it increases the score or decreases. It's a nice commitment address, not so much a paper. That's fair, Dojo. That is very fair. Like, yeah, that's not bad. Okay, so if anyone else wants to get their reviews in, now is the time. This all goes up on a web